Good evening, everyone. Welcome along. Welcome back to another season of FRS F1. Now on F1 2022, which is very, very exciting in its own little way. I'm Greg Harrison, otherwise known as Harringzord, and I am delighted to be joined in the commentary box this evening by none other than Quimbulus, aka Sean Provenza. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing quite well, ready for this last round of our opening weekend here. We've definitely had some shambles we just went through with the PlayStation division. Those of you who have stayed on the channel, you saw just what a exciting race that turned out to be. Even though it got down to 7 cars, there's plenty of good battling, and now here we are with PC Division 2.
Yeah, sometimes the safest place to be is in the commentary box, because then you can't get punted at the first corner, he says, through gritted teeth. The GT Series race didn't go my way earlier, shall we say. But we're here now, ready for another 33 laps, I think it is, around the Circuit de Catalunya here at Barcelona. And, well, on the subject of Turn 1, it's a long run down to Turn 1 here, isn't it? I'll take that as a yes. Not sure if Quimbulus' attention might be elsewhere. We're a few minutes away from the start of this qualifying session. It's the usual FRS format. 18 minutes of qualifying, which normally gives the drivers 3 attempts to set a pole position time. And then it will be a 50% distance race. We are aware there's been a few issues over the course of this weekend with, how shall we put this diplomatically, with the game itself. But hopefully we won't have any such issues this evening, and we can have a nice clean race with no gremlins, fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed for sure. One of the issues that I know that PC is going to have to deal with is one of the ones we had to see with PlayStation was the formation lap bugs. It gives everybody except the host cold tires, means that we're jumping straight into the racing action after qualifying, but that means everybody starts on cold tires, and that created the shambles that was 4 cars out before they even hit turn 1 in PlayStation, as just a little bit too much right foot, and somebody ended up sideways and collected quite a few others.
Cold tyres are bad. The one thing I'm lacking right now is a lobby. I don't know if I'm missing something, but I'm waiting to join on. Is it Stark who's hosting the lobby this evening?
It is Cruzo that is hosting the lobby. Stark is in the lobby, though.
Okay. According to my Twitch, he's in the main menu. So, according to my Twitch, according to my Steam, he's in the main menu. So, there we go. That's more like it. We're in. So that's good, because that means we can bring you all of the action from this PC Division 2 race, and plenty of well-known names in this division.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you've got Cruzo, who's been an FRS standout all the way back from the OG days, Season 1. Dan Gilligan, who has always shown some flashes of absolute rapid pace, but has been prone to the occasional mistake. And then you've got Coral, who is borderline Division 1, Division 2 pace. He's one to look out for at the top of this grid.
Yeah, there's a couple who are sort of, I would say, borderline Division 1 into Division 2 pace. So we will see how they get on. I think we're expecting a fairly full grid for this evening as well. The last time I saw it was in the region of 16, maybe 17, if all goes to plan. So that should keep things nice and spicy. Make sure there's plenty to play for. Obviously, we'll get into the differences between F1 21 and F1 22 as we get into the qualifying session. The lobby is just about ready to go, so we shouldn't be too far away from getting into the swing of things here. And then, yeah, this is the last race of the opening round, and all going to plan. We've seen some interesting... I did the reserve division race on Friday, and there was a few drivers from this division who took part in that, and there were some differences on the strategies, shall we say, where a few people were going in different directions to each other. So some information gleaned, and we'll see whether they bring that into the race this evening.
Yeah, more than previous seasons, we've seen a lot more discussion inside the team chats, at least for myself and Mercedes, about the strategy. I mean, F1 2020, even the 2021 game, most 50% distance races, you could throw on a medium soft or a soft medium and call it a day. But here in the 2022 game, it seems like tire deg is a little bit higher. Warm-up is going to be an issue with the tire blanket temperatures coming down. So there's a lot more strategy choices to be made. People are even trying to make strategy choices based on what tire comes out of the pits the best and takes the least amount of time to warm up, maybe sacrificing their start a little bit.
We did see a bit of that in the reserve division race on Friday that I covered, where it was almost Formula 2 style. The tyre warm-up coming out of the pit lane after the stop, where it takes a good sort of half a lap, 3/4 of a lap to get the tyre into that right window. So, yeah, that'll change things compared to what we're used to seeing, certainly in previous seasons. But hey, that gives us something new to talk about, and we are always keen for that.
Absolutely. And, slight changes to the handling model. Spain has turn 3, that long right-hander that's been easy flat in most of the F1 titles. Now, in race conditions, it really depends on your setup. If you don't have the car set up just right, it's not easy flat. We saw a lot of people generating errors through turn 3, putting it down too much, and then you combine the soft or the cold tires on top of that in your first outlaps. We've seen a lot of people that were in good undercut positions coming in, trying to push that outlap and making a mistake and ended up losing 7-8 seconds getting their car facing the right way again.
I think certainly in the early stages of an FRS season, I've said it a million times before, but I'll say it again, keeping out of trouble can work wonders. We're about to go into qualifying soon. I think if you can get yourself into the top 5-6 positions, that's where the qualifying is going to make a difference. Below that, it can very much end up a lottery very quickly.
Absolutely, and there's that long run down to turn 1 here in Spain, so there's some opportunity for slipstreaming. If you get a decent launch, you don't have to clear somebody so quickly. You can tuck in, grab a little bit of slipstream, and then find your way down into that switchback, turn 1, turn 2, and it creates some really good battling.
All right, our filler material is over. It is time to get into things ahead of this qualifying session in PC Division 2. A new era for F1, but hopefully the same old entertainment from PC Division 2 in FRS Season 6. We're here at the Circuit de Catalunya here in Spain, and it's only the second visit of the FRS Series to this particular circuit. Here it is, the Circuit de Catalunya, 16 turns, 4.6 kilometers, and 2 DRS zones to play with today. Not all that much in the way of overtaking opportunities. It'll very much be turn 1 and turn 10 where we'll see the majority of the action today. Spain with the longest run from pole position to turn 1 of the FRS season, and it'll be pretty spicy when we get down there. We've seen plenty of collisions already, certainly on the first lap into the fairly light braking zone, all things considered, into turn 1 by normal standards of first corners. Turn 10, the newly reprofiled turn 10, is now a long sweeping left-hander, and when the tyres start to go away later in the race, that one will be a challenge. Here's the 3 compounds for you. The soft, the fastest one as always. The hard, 1.4 seconds per lap slower, but an option that is viable over the course of this weekend. Well, we're all set. The talking is over, and it is time to get this session underway. And hopefully, any moment now, that session will be here with us. There we go. So I'm going to make sure we can bring back in Mr. Sean Provenza.
Yep, I'm here nice and safely. Discord's being a little bit of a pain with trying to stream your view. Luckily, I'm in the lobby, so I'll be able to do it this way, and I'll try and jump on. I've got the main stream pulled up on another feed. So, but everybody's out on their qualifying laps. Nobody's quite started yet that flying lap, and of course, in the 2022 game, much like the 2022 season, the Q2 tire rule is gone, so everybody's got free choice of tire. Likely not to see.
Oh, and there's Dog. There's Dog into the barrier already. Just warming up the tyres, and he's lucky to not lose a wheel there, actually. He'll be able to recover and get the car fixed up, but that's not the start you want.
No, one of the career leaders in the FRS DNFs already putting himself into the barriers, losing that front wing. And it's not the way you want to start your first out lap of the season.
I think the first car that we've got on the circuit is Ark. Ark has pretty much been in the division that I've commentated on through most of his FRS career, the only exception being when he was in the division that I was racing in back in Season 3. Very quick driver. We will see how this is the highest level he's raced at so far, PC Division 2, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on in the AlphaTauri.
Looks to have taken a pretty safe line through that high-speed right-hander of Turn 9. Drivers daring to carry as much speed. Now, of course, through the reprofiled Turn 10, it's been another one of those error generators. It used to be hard on the brakes, that sharp hairpin, you kind of point the car straight and accelerate. Now it's a long, extended traction zone, and we've seen some spins from other divisions already this season.
So it'll be Ark on the soft tyres. We'll expect everybody to be on the soft tyres for this one. And he'll come out the final corner. Give us that benchmark time. I think we're looking at somewhere in the 17s probably for pole position would be my best guess. Maybe even a 16 if we're very, very lucky. But I've not kept an eye on how Division 1 we're going. So you'll have more information than me on that. Chimichanga has gone slightly quicker on a 1:18.5. But these very much just opening laps in this session.
And Coral's the first to dip down into the 17s. I didn't get a chance to see what PC Division 1's pace was at, but Xbox Division 1, we saw some mid to low 16s down on the front side of the pole boxes there. Most drivers, though, in the low 17s, as Dark is putting himself 18.2, Milo 18.3, Dan Gilligan 18.3, so we're starting to get at least the warm-up laps sort of sorted out there.
Yep, so we've got Cruzo here on a warm-up lap, but spinning. Almost into the pit lane. Cruzo in that McLaren livery. We know he's not necessarily the fondest of. Won't be particularly fond of his exit from the fiddly chicane either that time round.
No, and interesting to see him carry on to start the flying lap. You would estimate those bad momentum out of that final corner and cold tires may not be ideal, but he's going for the lap here. So down into turn 1, find that brake marker just about through there.
We have a new pole sitter. It's Dr. Zados, the debutant in the Red Bull.
And Cruzo's had another spin through turn 3, but yeah, Dr. Zados now in that mid-17s. A good run there.
Well, I was about to say one more car on a quick lap at the moment, but it's Andrew Orthodox, and it's not looking particularly fast. So a few drivers having issues early on in this session.
Yeah, and of course, 22 released last month with a whole new handling model to start with, and then there was the 1.06 patch that completely changed the handling model just about a week ago. So drivers have all their setups and everything kind of go completely out the window, and everybody got kind of reset to level footing again as the handling model was enough of a change that Cody's reset all the time trial boards.
So Flashy goes up into P9. Flashy, a driver that I think there's a little bit of perhaps smart money on for the championship here in this one, based on previous form. But a little bit off the pace at the moment, 8/10 or so shy, so we'll see how they get on. It's Zados, Coral, and now Riso in the second Ferrari, who is P3. I think both the Mercedes drivers will be happy to have just gone out, got a lap on the board, 4th and 5th, and then they can come back in and work it out from there. The banker lap has gone to plan for the Mercedes team.
Most definitely, and for those watching on stream, we may be a little extra harsh on Mercedes. being a Mercedes driver myself and Zord being Mercedes team principal. So I don't expect us to be particularly heaping too much praise or being too biased towards Mercedes because, well, we know just what this pairing can sometimes do in this division. They are a rapid pair of drivers, but often prone to the bit of shambles.
Yeah, I'm the boss. Well, the Mercedes boss. I was the boss last season, and yeah, lots of inter-team shambles or safety car-inducing incidents from the Mercedes pair in Division 3 when I covered that last season. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this time it will be better. Here's Dog about to set a representative time, and a very representative time, up into P4 in the Haas.
It's a very solid lap time from him. Dog, another one of those drivers. I know who you're giving him a little bit of stick for spinning it into the wall in the outlap, but he is a quick driver. Was just third in the championship in Division 2 last season behind Elliott and Major Castleman, who those two drivers have both moved up to Div 1. So Dog had showed the pace to fight with those guys from time to time. But, as we said, one of the league's leaders in career DNFs has the tendency to just get his foot wrong on the curbing sometimes.
We're currently on board with Archduke Oregano, who, if I'm not mistaken, has moved over to PC, having been very, very competitive in the PlayStation scene in FRS.
Definitely a quick driver, and I'm sure as he was watching the previous race from PlayStation Division 1, glad to be away from the shambles that they saw today, as he puts himself up into P4, just outside that 117 mark, as we're creeping up on the halfway point of this qualifying session.
Yeah, we're getting into the phase now where those who have had a clean session so far are out looking for their second run. We've got a queue of cars keeping out the way out of turn 5 here on the run down the hill towards turn 7, but keeping out the way is exactly what we want to see. We're currently watching Well-Sized Lad in the Alpine. The Alpine lineup possibly on paper not the strongest this season, but hopefully they'll be one of those teams that can keep out of trouble and pick up points when others go awry. Look at the traffic in the background as well.
Couple drivers on flying laps trying to sneak their way through. Well-Sized Lad, I'm sure, had a little bit of dodging to do through the high speed of turn 9, where you really just have to nail that line, and if you get taken off, you've probably lost yourself a tenth or two. And there was a Red Bull with the DRS open we saw in the back of shot as well, trying to weave through there. We'll see as Well-Sized comes out, see if he can improve on that 19.4 he has before. Out of the final corner, DRS flips open, short run to the line, and his improvement to the 18s, but no positional improvement.
Man of the move at the moment is Stark, 3/10 up on his previous best in the first sector alone. He had about 4/10 to find. We've got an Alfa Romeo off on the exit of turn 3, which I think might be Brad Spitt, if Brad Spitt was the one on a quick lap. But here comes Stark, very much looking like the Lewis Hamilton with the yellow helmet in that Mercedes. Hard on the brakes into turn 10. Can Stark get up onto the front row or even provisional pole with this particular lap?
And it's all about trying to just work your way through this final sector. It's a tricky bit of chicanes as you slow down for that right. Finding the braking point downhill, so easy to lock up there. Avoid the big sausage curbs that can really throw you off. It looks to be a good run through that final chicane. Should open the DRS, go across the line. And he's up on provisional pole by just about 100th of a second. Goes on a 17.8.
That's a very, very good time. Very, very good time from Stark. 17.8, provisional pole. Dr. Zados has, will not be improving on this lap because we don't have a front wing on that Red Bull. So that'll be back into the pits. Thankfully not taking the front left wheel off there. Chance to check in.
Yeah, and I'm taking a look at Riso as he's going around. He was about 1/10 of a second up on his first sector best, so he's right about in the margin for that improvement. But Dan Gilligan coming out of the final course. No, he's coming into the pit lanes now, so not going to finish that one off. Riso, I'm going to keep an eye on, see how he can do it just as he's about to hit the second split for the sectors, and he's lost tons of time, 1.4, so I would expect he's probably going to bail out of this lap.
Bananarama's gone up into 10th place in the Alfa Romeo. Of course, the top 10's not quite the strategy boon or disadvantage that it used to be, as you were alluding to earlier. Arc on the move at the moment, about 3.5 up as we come through the second part of the lap. Just this fiddly final section to go.
Yeah, and we talk about Division 2 usually having such tight competition. We're seeing it even at this stage of qualifying now. 1 second covers the top 15 and another 10th for Well-Sized Lad, as even just Cruzo and Orthodox have not set representative times, but Arc improves and is within a 10th of a second of the lead. We have the top 4 split now by less than half a 10th of a second.
It's spicy. I hope you like it spicy, because it is ramping up here in PC Division 2. I mean, it's the first race of the season, brand new division. This is exactly the sort of thing we want to see. It is a very, very close qualifying session here, and less than half a 10th covering the top 4 with 6 minutes left on the clock. Dog improving as well. Finding about a 10th, just shy of a 10th. That's not enough to get involved right at the sharp end as it stands.
Now, one thing I experienced myself is it's easy to make a mistake in the final sector, so it's possible that if he had a bit of a scrappy last sector in his previous best lap to gain a good 2-3 tenths. We'll see how he does if it was across the line.
Oh, it's provisional pole. What a lap from Dog. 17.5.
He found nearly a half a second in that final sector from his previous best, so like I was guessing, there was a scruffy final sector, and he just had to match those first 2, and goes the lowest and really puts the benchmark after everybody was less than a 10th apart. Now 3 tenths clear.
Now Coral has purple, and that does look purple. 4 tenths up on his previous best, and that would be good enough to take that provisional pole position away from Dog. It is hotting up. The bar is moving ever downwards. Or up, I suppose, whichever way you want to look at it. But Coral on a flyer here. Just one more corner to go, and it's pretty much flat out. Coral keeps to the inside line, shortest route to the line, and it is provisional pole by 3 tenths of a second.
That is a big improvement of 17.2, and keep in mind, we just about hit the 5-minute mark to go in the session. Archduke Oregano jumping up into P3 now, but we are just about hitting this point in the session where track evolution really comes into play. So the final runs, we may see this bar dip down into the 16s.
It's all to play for. We've got Cruzo trying to improve, currently about 7.9 seconds, or precisely 7.9 seconds off the place. Whether Cruzo this is a tactical play just to try and stay at the back and keep out of trouble, has invalidated this particular lap, so won't be able to improve.
He'd improved by about 4 seconds, which is a massive improvement to find, but when you're about almost 8 off the pace, it's a little tough. We'll jump on to Brad Spit. He's got some time to find 1.4 off the ultimate pace as he comes through the tricky combination of corners. It's so easy to miss the camber here and let the car get loose. Up over the top of the hill, turn 9, that Red Bull staying nicely out of the way. Carries decent speed through there. Could probably use a little bit of extra track, but we'll see where he is at this next sector split. Only about a 10th of a second of improvement, but that should be good for a couple of places if he's able to carry it all the way to the line.
So we had Dr. Zados in the Red Bull pulling out the way. He's had to abandon his latest flying lap. So was quick in the early part of the session, has struggled to keep the car pointing in the right direction, trying to improve on that. We're looking at Brad Spit out of the final corner as the drivers move on to their final laps of this session. We've got Flashy going green in the first sector as well.
And so this midfield's got a little bit of time to find to catch up to the sharp end of the grid, although the track should be in just about ideal situations. For drivers on flying laps now, there's not about going to be enough time to get in and get one more lap done. So we may see the top 4 go even lower than the rest, since they seem to have timed their out laps and their flying laps just about perfectly to get that extra run in.
Well, my super secret prediction before the start of the season was keep an eye on the Ferraris, but they let me down so far. Doesn't sound like Ferrari, does it? Flashy about to come across the line, and it's an improvement to P8, so the Ferrari's now back in play, both within that top 8.
There have been some traffic, it looks like, as Riso diving out of the way maybe held up that Williams that was going through. That is rookie driver, 86 Hero. Hopefully that didn't cost too much time. It's a slow corner, shouldn't be too much of an aero loss, but you never know. It could have just gotten them wrong-footed in the braking zone.
Well, that won't make the lap much better. That's a big whack into the barrier from Hero. Lucky to not be a retirement from the session there, actually, for the Williams driver. We're going to move.
Caught it right on the tip of the nose there, and that's one we've seen in race conditions. We may see that mistake as well, losing the rear out of turn 9.
So a minute and a half to go. We're getting into the regions of it being do or die. Dr. Zados has moved up into P3, by the way. We've missed that The Red Bull driver right back up at the sharp end, but it's still Coral with that sizable advantage. Stark's gone again on an out lap. We've got Ark not quite finding the time. But again, it could be one of those like we saw from Dog before. If we can find a huge chunk of time in the final sector, we can try to get ourselves up into that top 5, maybe in the top 3.
Yeah, trying to work their way through the final chicane. A little bit of a car ahead of them, but shouldn't be in their way. Getting the power down through that flat out right-hander, swings it onto the exit curbing there. Riso is out of the session as Ark jumps up into the top 5, and Bananarama's got a 5-place grid penalty for colliding with a Riso, and a Hero is out of this. Somebody has absolutely binned it on the inside of turn 4, and several cars are retiring now.
Very difficult to know what happened there, but it looks like Bananarama and Riso have come together in some way. Anyway, up at the sharp end, we've got Dog not improving on this particular lap. So it's currently Coral, Dog, who's now abandoned this lap by the looks of things. The 2 drivers to watch at the moment. Archduke Oregano has found almost a couple of tenths of a second in the first sector alone, and it's a 5-place grid penalty for Chimichanga now for a collision with Milo.
Coral's found a tenth of a second through the first sector, and there's lots of yellow flags all over the track right now. You're going to try and sneak their way through.
I think Cruzo's binned it.
Dog was on a good... Dog may have been on a good run, but got caught up by those yellow flags. Stark just about to finish his lap coming out of the final corner.
So Dog has made it round for one more go. At the moment, it's Archduke Oregano that we need to be looking at, and then the car behind this is Coral. And it seems to just be these 2. If Dog can produce something miraculous on the scrubbed set of soft tyres. But Coral in the box seat at the moment as Archduke Oregano comes out of the final corner and puts it on the front row. Great lap from the Aston Martin driver.
Just about a tenth shy. It looks like Coral's lost a little bit of time in the second sector, though we'll see how they do crossing the line. Does not improve. Still stays on provisional pole. Dog, I jumped on with him, has basically no battery left and is losing time all the way down. So he looks to be not improving. Zados is across the line. Ark is in the pits.
Dan Gilligan,
Stark.
Dan Gilligan's just moved up into P6. Yeah, great time. So there we go.
We've seen the pace from Dan before in the past. Now it's going to be up to him to do the job in the race. He's got race winning potential, I think, speed wise. It's just a matter of having a good start, staying out of trouble, and of course that good start is going to be extra tough with all that colder starting tire.
Well, in the early part of the session, I mean, sort of halfway through, we had about half a tenth of a second between the top 4. It's spread out a little bit. Coral, Archduke Oregano, Dog, even Dr. Zados have been able to stretch their legs a little bit, and that, we've now got a second covering the top 9, realistically, where it was the top 15 before. But I think it'll probably not be to too many people's surprise that it's a pole position for Coral and an all-American front row with Coral and Archduke Oregano, the top 2 for McLaren and Aston Martin, respectively. Dog and Dr. Zados will line up on the second row, so we're very much in play here. And then 3 of the Brits, Ark, Dan Gilligan, and Stark. Ark and Stark always seem to find themselves close to each other on the circuit. The 2 Ferraris, 8th and 9th, Riso ahead of Flashy, and then it's Milo rounding out the top 10. Then there's a couple of drivers with 5-place grid drops, so we've got Chimichanga and Bananarama. We didn't quite see either of those incidents, so Blackbird will move up to P11. And then it's Hero, Brad Spitt, Andrew Orthodox, well-sized lad, and right at the back is Cruzo. Good session.
Yeah, Cruzo never really got a chance to set a representative lap time for himself. Struggled with invalidations, and I think the overall pace of the grid is a little bit closer than we saw. I think those yellow flags during the final runs really compromised some drivers and took them out of their element significantly.
Right. Strategy time. It's time to go to strategy corner. What's the prominent strategy here? Medium hard? How likely is the medium soft?
Medium soft is just about on the edge of what you can do. You're going to have to do a fair bit of management. You need to get those medium tires to about lap 22, 23. The soft tires, they are completely dead usually by about lap 10, but they cross over with the medium only about 8 laps into their life. So you really have only about 7 good laps on the softs at the end of the race, even if you go to them earlier, and then you're losing time to people on the hards. The hards are such a resilient tire around here that your lap time is almost completely dictated by your fuel level.
Well, it's straight into things here. Lights out and away we go here in PC Division 2, and it looks like the better start is for Archduke Oregano on the inside. Car up at the back is one of the Alfa Romeos, a couple more cars on the grass. But it's a slow start for Coral. Dr. Zados has done the Fernando Alonso, and we've already got a virtual safety car before we even arrived at turn 1. But Dr. Zados leads this race.
Yeah, phenomenal start, just managing those cold tires to get into the front. And there's 5-second penalties going all over the place as people were jumping across corners to avoid incidents and not handing the positions back. So more shambles to start with these cold tires. We saw the Alfa Romeo off at the back of Brad Spitt likely just spun up the rears, but it was a very slow get off the line. And I wonder if that factored into the VSC, even though there was some damage that they surely have to clear, some debris. But probably give us time to look and see what tires people have started on.
Yeah, it's the 2 Alfa Romeos at the back. So I know we saw one of them into the barrier on very, very cold tyres, but clearly some drivers were struggling there. Was that a car? No, just a car weaving for some tyre life. Where are we at? Mercedes 6 and 7. Riso up to P5 on the soft tyre. Well-sized lad, the other on the soft. We are green again here in PC Division 2, and it's Zados from Oregano from Coral.
Yeah, Coral losing the 2 positions at the start there. Dog, the biggest pain there. He's dropped 11 spots since the start of this race, but you can see the top 4 now all on those medium tires. Riso and Well-sized lad, the only
Oh, there's a Haas facing the wrong way. That's Andrew Orthodox, who's dropped the car coming out of turn 13. But as we come down towards turn 1 at racing speed for the first time, it is Dr. Zados in the lead with Oregano in hot pursuit, and then Coral and Dan Gilligan with a great start up to P4. Oh, Brad Spitt is out at the back.
Yeah, Brad Spitt is around. It doesn't seem to be calling any kind of safety car or VSC. I think he might be stuck near the pit entry trying to get it. He may have hit the barrier of the pit entry. Unfortunately, they'll probably have his car cleared by the time the field gets around to see where he has actually put it.
There's a huge gap in the field behind Cruzo. Cruzo, very much the Jarno Trulli impressionist here. That must be something to do with the VSC, because there's so many cars are in this particular gaggle here behind the McLaren, who's already up into the points.
Yep, Cruzo from the back of the grid using his wily veteran status and is up at the leading the massive train that is the final points paying position.
Here's Dog down the inside of Hero, gets the move done. So Dog has one more car to clear, and then we'll actually be able to run in clear air here because of that huge gap from Cruzo. That gap that's ever increasing up to Arc in P9. Zados continues to lead this race. There's a gap now forming behind Riso back to Stark in P6.
And of course, with it only being a VSC called to start this race, instead of a full safety car, DRS is now enabled. That 3 laps in, we didn't have to reset the timer. It looks like Blackbird is coming into the pits. The Red Bull driver may have had some damage there, but yeah, there's that huge gap, and there's an even bigger gap now just slowly starting to form between
Here
Stark
down the inside
Riso.
is Riso, side by side through turn 4 with Gilligan. And that's good defense from the Williams. Managed to stick it out all the way around the outside. Riso trying to make hay while the sun shines on these soft tires.
Yeah, he'll get a little bit of extra life from that half a lap of VSC, but he's got to try and clear Dan Gilligan as Dan Gilligan is falling outside of DRS of Coral ahead. He needs to get in touching distance of the podium positions on these softs because he's going to be paying the price later on in this race. Having a little look to the inside of turn 10, but not quite ready to stick a nose down there. Should be able to get a good run down the main straight, though.
In the background, you've got the fight between Stark, Millo, Flashy, and Arc, who are running nose to tail, with Stark dropping back from this lead group in the early stage, possibly in a bit of tyre saving mode here, so we can try and run that medium soft.
Well, you were talking about the PC Div R race, and one of the strategies as Risto has the DRS. Dan Gilligan actually managed to grab DRS off of Coral just for a second there, but he's going to sneak up the inside down into turn 1, and Riso is going to make that move on the soft tires, now striking out ahead.
We got migrating host. I think that'll be a red flag. Cruzo has left the session. That's going to be problematic, I think.
Yeah, almost certainly going to be a red flag. We'll stand by for just a second. I'll jump into the Div 2 chat to see, and yeah, they're calling a red flag. So a red flag confirmed on this one.
Yep, here we go again. We'll see the cars now retire from the session. And this is now, we're 4 laps into this. So what's the procedure now? Is this just a full restart?
4 laps into this one, we are going to try and take in the new 2-hour rule. Of course, it will likely be restarted as the rules are written. Between 4 laps and 50% of the race distance completed, it gets restarted as a 25% distance. However, it's right on the border here. There may be an opportunity to restart it as a 50% though.
Well, it's a shame. It was always a risk. How do we be diplomatic about this one? Kel surprise?
You know, I don't know how to be diplomatic. Now, on the plus side, it seems that PC2 was the most ready of any of the divisions for a red flag, because they have already cleared just about everybody out and are setting up the new lobby. Now, I just need to find my way out of this current lobby.
Yes, indeed. Well, that'll be it for the time being. We can move back to the well-prepped filler material. Who knew we could possibly need this evening? So, I mean, the problem we've got now is this is very much, that there's very little to stop the same thing happening again when we get this race back underway. This game is a challenge, considering the level of investment required to play it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a bummer, because as far as playability of the game, it's felt like a much more enjoyable game to drive than the previous iteration. Obviously, 2020 was probably the high point. 2021 had some ups and downs to it, but I think they did a very good job on the drivability of the 2022 cars this time around. And we are really struggling with just the stability of the game at this stage.
Well, we will now basically have to fill that time again, because we've nothing else we can do right now other than just wait to find out when the new lobby's going to go up. So grab yourselves a drink, or I don't know, a snack, anything else that you need to get you through this break period, and then hopefully we'll have the action back for you soon.
Yeah, we saw an interesting variety of tire strategies. We saw a couple people opting for the soft compounds. We had a couple drivers, Brad Spitt, namely on the hard compound tire to start this one. So he's one of the ones that was trying to go along, and as you were saying, with the gap that Stark was opening up in the Div R race, he was going to really try and extend the stint, and he actually went until those tires popped. So he knows just about how long he can take those ones into the race. So we may see some extension. The undercut, because of tire warm-up, not particularly powerful around this circuit. We have actually seen drivers that stay out an extra lap and overcut tend to be the better strategy overall. But of course, with safety cars, and as we saw, there were plenty of drivers that went off the track and had mistakes in qualifying. We may just have people just kind of throwing the entire strategy by the wayside and just winging it.
Well, winging it sounds about right, doesn't it, given the environment that we have? Because unfortunately, we're in that scenario now where we're just going to have to do the best we can. I think most disappointed of all has to surely be Zados in the Red Bull, who had produced a monumentally good start to move from P4 on the grid all the way up to the lead before we even made it to turn 1.
Yeah, he had a tremendous launch, really handled the wheel spin of those cold tires the best out of anybody, and then was nice and clean, used that slipstream from that long run down into turn 1, and successfully found their way into the lead of the race. We'll see, because if the race gets restarted by the red flag rules as a 25% race, it's going to be with the red flag call running order, which would put Dr. Gazetos at the front. However, if it gets restarted as a full 50%, that's when it'll go back to the qualifying order. So there might be a little bit of lobbying. It looks like Stark is just about getting the lobby up for us to join as well. So we should be back underway relatively quickly here. He's going to have to wait for everybody to get in the lobby to set the customs grids, but
it looks like we are...
PC2 was able to get out quick enough and then start re-lobbying.
Yeah, it looks like we are going to go for a full 33-lap race again here. Based on what I can see with the lobby settings in here. So the red flag rules dictating that we will basically start this race again. And then all we can do is keep our fingers crossed. Someday we might have a playable game. I think if... I don't know how much, like, the people at Formula 1 who are signing the license agreement over for this product, how much are they aware of how badly this is representing their brand? Maybe we should make them aware
of it. It's tough. It's definitely tough because league racing, obviously, you know, there's memes about just the shambles that come inherently with regular just open lobby play. League racing is really where you develop a consistent customer base who is buying the game the day it comes out so they can start grinding and getting ready for their league seasons. And things like this, yeah, you may be able to deal with it. You just quit the lobby if you're playing open lobbies, but for a league situation, this is what really harms the overall community, is just not having a stable game to go out and have good racing in.
So I think a lot of I'm just reading from chat, some of the problems we might have had with that initial start is I think some of the drivers weren't aware that there was no formation lap and we were basically going straight into play there. So that probably explains why we had cars everywhere, cars on the grass. If some people have got away from the line sort of at what they would consider formation lap speed, then that's going to cause issues.
Yeah, and unfortunately, sometimes people just need to read, because I'm pretty sure that the entire divisions where that was happening were pinged several times about the no formation lap and warned before the start of this race. And as far as the 5-second penalties we saw for under the VSC, the overtaking, that's another one of those lovely game bugs where if you overlap with another car under VSC or safety car conditions, it just wigs out and doesn't know who is supposed to be in front, and then you end up with both drivers getting penalties. So hopefully we can avoid that. Obviously there's some things the drivers can do to mitigate that. Don't overlap with another car while you're in the safety car queue, but things like that should ideally just work.
Yeah, I mean, what parts of the game do work? The sofas are nice. What kind of sofa have you got?
I don't remember. I set it on day one, and I don't think I've looked at it since.
It's like trying to run a race on The Sims. I think the only bits of this game, because the single player doesn't work from what I've seen, because the AI are overpowered, so that doesn't work. So you can't play single player. So can you play multiplayer? No, can't play multiplayer. So I guess you can look at your nice little character model sitting in his nice EA branded t-shirt on his nice EA branded sofa and have a lovely time. Can't do any racing. What do you want from an F1 game? Crazy talk.
Like I said, it's tough that the backward steps that it seems to have taken. Now, in all fairness, we haven't seen the dreaded D word yet.
Well, I mean,
there's been other. Luckily, the issues with migrating host is it immediately breaks the grid.
Yeah.
So you have to call a red flag. You don't have to drive around for 4 laps going, is it desync or are they just not driving well? And then you finally go, oh, it's desync. And then you stop the race. So I'm looking on the bright side here. At least you can throw the red flag right away. We knew it was going to be a red flag as soon as we saw migrating host pop up. And we could get stuff sorted. But I'm not ruling it out.
I mean, you know, this isn't the only game I stream. I stream a few different games. There's some games I stream that are in like alpha builds that work. You know, there's bugs here and there, but generally you can play the game. This isn't the first rodeo. Like, I remember there was a fairly infamous rant I did on F1 2021 when we had desync issues. Like, the Champions Edition of this game costs £70. That's like a day's electricity here in Europe. It's just remarkable. I just really, really find it remarkable that we can continue. I mean, I think it was fairly well established. I only bought this game a week ago. I was straight up refusing to buy it. I've eventually caved because I really wanted to cast some FRS action, and here we are, sat looking at a discussion in Discord around how we can possibly try to have some fun. It's frustrating. I think we're all entitled to be frustrated. But yeah, alas, there's another 50 quid I'm not getting back.
Yep, and hopefully we're back in quick enough because I know that this hold screen loop is just shy of 16 minutes long. When we had PC Division 4's relobby yesterday, we ran all the way to the end of it. Although it looks like the countdown is starting. And yeah, there's some question on the restart, but we're on lap 4, not
yeah, I believe we had
end of
3.
lap 4. We did not complete the 4th lap.
So that, I believe, means that it's a qualifying grid restart.
Which is unfortunate for Zados. That incredible start that he had is essentially wiped off. It is, though, fortunate for those who had DNF'd in the first couple of laps because they get to rejoin the grid and get back to it. And we get an extra 3.5 laps of shambles.
Yes, indeed. So, you know, we've tried the production value thing, but here's a lobby just to prove we're going to get racing soon. I imagine we're going to be fairly straight into this once we get in here because there'll be no formation lap again because, believe it or not, that's broken as well. So, yeah, we'll just see. We'll see what we can do. Maybe season 7.
Yeah, it looks like hopefully people have loaded their setups and strategies because somebody hit the go button rather quickly and that countdown has already started. So we are going to be going... Oh, no. Okay. It looks like we are on this waiting for players. So there is a little bit of setup time, and somebody has hit the button immediately as the admins pinged everybody and said, give 1 minute on the grid for people to load their setups. So nobody listening to that rule. Okay.
So, well, it's just shambles across the board.
Get your strategies in fast. I don't know about you, but personally, I always put my setup as the top save slot. So in case of issues, I literally have 3 buttons to press to have my setups loaded and not have to scroll through everything. But more shambles incoming.
I'm going to call the start of the race, and then we'll see what happens from there. 5 lights are on. It's lights out, and away we go for a second time here in PC Division 2. It's a cleaner start this time. Another great start from Dr. Zados, and we're 3 wide at the front as we come down towards turn 1. But it's Archduke Oregano on the inside who's going to take the lead of this race from Coral. Still fighting it out. Stark's had a much better time this time around, sorry. And that is Dog going backwards again in the midfield. Ark with a much better start and is up to P4. As we come around to turn 4 for the first time.
Yeah, Riso almost made it 4 wide down into turn 1 before bailing out as he's scrapping away with Dan Gilligan. You have Milo, Flashy, all in this mid-pack fighting for position.
Oh, there's a spin.
Late on the brakes. It looks like he's made contact with the back of Dan Gilligan. Oh, there's a big crash in the back as Blackbird goes into the entire pile. Flashy just sending it into that corner was nowhere near alongside. I would be shocked if that does not end up in the steward's room.
Well, we've got a spin there for Archduke Oregano on that deadly sausage curb. It is all happening. I think there's a car off there. That's Bananarama facing the wrong way at the bottom of the hill. But at the front, Oregano leads from Coral and Zados, and Ark making great progress on this opening lap.
Yeah, Riso and Well-Sized Lad, the only ones opting for the soft tires at the start of this one. So everybody else is on the medium tire. Nobody opting for the hard tire this time around. So we'll have to see what those soft tire runners are going to do. Dog is into the pits, likely with damage.
So Dog has to pit. We've got a gap back from Stark in P5 to Millo in P6, who is under pressure from Riso as they come down into turn 1.
And everybody involved in that kerfuffle, Hero, Brad Spit, Blackbird, Dan Gilligan, Bananarama, all into the pits. So it's going to be a tough day for all of them. Interesting to see. Dog on the hards. Hero and Blackbird opting for the soft compound tires, just waiting for the tire changes to happen for Dan Gilligan and Bananarama. Of course, you've only got one set of mediums available to you in this race, so it's got to be a tire change onto the hard or soft.
Great fight here between Andrew Orthodox and Flashy. This is lasting the entire first sector. The Ferrari finally now has that move done as they get out onto the exit of turn 5. Millo still under pressure. Great camera angle here from Riso, who's gone up the inside and by the looks of things has taken P6.
Yeah, but now Andrew Orthodox still fighting with that group behind and really tight the Alpino, and up the inside, Flash, you're sending it in there, getting very late on the brakes. Is he going to try and hang it out around the outside? Well-Sized Lad has those soft compound tires. He's just about to elbow Flashy off the track, just not allow him to take that position. DRS is now enabled, but side by side behind Flashy and Andrew Orthodox through the chicanes. Andrew Orthodox just going to take that position.
Well-Sized Lad
Flashy
boxes.
seems to have gotten a good run.
So it's a pit stop for the Alpine. Great fight between those three. So clean. Really well done between the three of them. No DRS yet, so this is all on the battery and your force of will, really. But Flashy has the inside line. But great defense from Andrew Orthodox, who sticks it out around the outside of turn 1.
Yeah, and you mentioned the battery, that hybrid power unit giving an extra 160 horsepower. That fight's still just about ongoing between the two up there, but you really have to make sure your attacks come off. You only gen about 9%
Riso's out.
battery per lap.
Riso's dropped it. On the exit of turn 7, that is going to be a safety car. Or maybe it's a virtual safety car. Dan Gilligan has retired from the session as well in the pit lane. But we'll look on the left-hand side. The car's in the barrier. I'm not seeing the safety car out on the circuit, so it looks like it is a VSC. But obviously the graphics are also broken, so it's very hard to tell.
Yeah, you kind of have to look for the mini-map to see if that yellow dot comes out on track. I haven't seen it, so I would assume it's going to be a virtual safety car. Everybody slowing down, giving an opportunity to recharge some of that battery. There's a few drivers that are carrying 5-second penalties. I believe, though, those might be speeding in the pit lane entry type penalties.
I think it's a real shame because obviously the admin team do put in a lot of effort to run an FRS, but I think I can already sense the frustration in some of these drivers, and we're 4 laps in to the first race of the season. DRS enabled, we're green once again.
And now we get to go back to Flashy and Andrew Orthodox battling. Coral about a second off of Archduke Oregano outside of that DRS zone. Thought he was inside of it before the VSC, but really this scrap between Flashy and Andrew Orthodox for the last 2 points paying positions has been some tremendous back and forth already this early in the race.
Yeah, this has really been the fight of the race so far. We've actually got a good race between all of the cars that had to pit. So you got Well-Sized Lad in P12 and then Blackbird and Brad Spit and Dog in that fight. Dog with another disastrous start, really, from his perspective. And in fact, now off into the barriers, just as I say that, at the exit of turn 3.
Yeah, those hard tires, it's not fully flat out through turn 3 anymore. It's easy to make that kind of a mistake. You got to kind of lift and dial it in. Otherwise, you get yourself into trouble. Looks like on the timing tower, Coral has gotten back inside that 1 second mark of Archduke Oregano. But this is One of your closest battles on track. Flashy and Andrew Orthodox split by less than half a second. That DRS open now. We will see who is willing to spend the battery on attack here. It's so hard to regen, and you burn so much of it down the main straight. Closing. He's looking to the inside. Is he going to lunge? No, he's tucked right back in. Well, it looks like Andrew Orthodox has gone a little bit deep into turn 1. That's going to compromise his run, as there's another yellow flag in the final sector there. It looks like one of the Alfa Romeos is stopped on the track.
I think that was Brad Spitt. He just lost out to Bananarama. Yeah, Andrew Orthodox and Flashy very much getting to know each other in the early stages of this race. This is really, really great stuff between this pair. The gap at the front is stabilizing at around 9/10 of a second, and it's now Zados who's falling back. That, I think, is Hero 86 or 86 Hero in the barriers at the exit of turn 3 as well.
It looks like they've gotten the car rolling again. There's no visible damage on the front wing, but as you know, there is a bit of damage that you can have without it being completely visible, as there is another stopped pass on track through turn 10. That's likely Dog again.
It's Dog in the pit lane, so Dog's now a lap down on the field. So disappointing for Dog. And oh, actually, that's a car off the track. That is Blackbird facing the wrong way. He was in a fight with Well-Sized Lad. He's getting out of the way. That's fair. Fair racing, just getting out of the way of 86 Hero, who was coming through there. And now in a fight with one of the Alfa Romeos. Top 4 are now breaking clear of the 2 Mercedes drivers.
Yeah, and we speculate once again as, oh, there's a double spin through turn 10. That's Hero and Blackbird that have gotten tangled. They're just trying to get going. It looked like they were battling on their way in. But again, just lots of drivers ended up facing the wrong way at the start of this season.
It's a challenge so far. The top 4 are doing well to keep out of trouble, but they're already beginning to come up on some of this back marker traffic. The field's very, very spread out now. Like from 9th place down over, there's now, yeah, so Andrew Orthodox has been off because there's now 10 seconds between him and Flashy. There's just cars off the road, left, right, and centre here.
And Andrew Orthodox may have been that Haas dot that I was seeing before and thought it might have been Dog, but as you said, Dog was in the pit lane, so
yeah.
It must have been another tough situation for the Haas team, who's back on the grid in full-time situations. They were set as a reserve team in the last season, but we are once again treating them as full-time seats, and they will have their chance at
oh, there's a spin from Zados on the exit of 3. We just caught that on board. He's kept it out of the barrier. But that is a Red Bull facing in the wrong direction, and he's now going to have to rejoin as safely as he possibly can. That's another one dropping it on the exit of 3.
I think you spend 3 years or so playing the game, and turn 3 at Spain was easy flat in 2019, easy flat in 2020, easy flat in 2021. Now it's not easy flat in race conditions, and drivers are just... their muscle memory might be catching them out if they've been, league veterans or have been driving the game for multiple years.
It's so interesting that all of the actions are happening at the end of the corner. Like you would maybe expect it halfway through, but it's almost at the point where they're beginning to straighten out the car, ready for the run, the very short run to turn 4. And then it's just the back end's getting away.
Well, you're kind of climbing a hill all the way through that right-hander of turn 3, and right about at the end of it, when you start to open the steering wheel, it kind of levels off, so there's a very small hill crest there, and that might be just lightening up the rear as it's right on the edge of grip enough in that final phase of turning to get the back end to step around. But Milo in the Mercedes behind his teammate Stark in the Mercedes, who we'll see if he's trying to take it long, as there's another spinner, it looks like, in turn 4. That is Hero.
It is, yeah. So I was about to say, if I was the Mercedes team principal, which I very much am, I'd be more than satisfied with my 2 cars running round, actually, in classic Mercedes fashion. Quite a long way off the front runners, quite a long way ahead of the midfield, and formation flying for the 2 Mercedes drivers so far.
Absolutely, and I think Stark might be in a bit of tire save mode. I know he tried that wild strategy. Now, I don't know. I should probably know if they are in any kind of communication with each other. There may be an opportunity for them to switch positions, let Milo attack and use up the tires a little bit more. Although it seems like Milo, who I know has had a bit less practice in the new game than Stark, is happy to just sit in the DRS, get pulled along on the straights, and just hang out in the corners.
We are starting lap 9. It feels like it's about lap 54 of this race. It has been, well, it's been eventful to say the very least. We've got a number of cars pretty much a lap down on most of the field. There's another car on the pits who is hero again. So a disastrous day for Williams with Gilligan out. That is another Haas off the track. And that is Andrew Orthodox. There are a lot of drivers struggling here.
It's definitely tricky as just about sneaking through as the Alfa Romeo as they came through. Very tricky right-hander of turn 9. There's really only one line to safely take through that corner. So luckily everybody through without incident. And that Red Bull that is just behind the two Mercedes is a lap down. Is Cruzo battling with a car that appears to be a lap down. I don't think that Haas is on the lead lap.
I think that's Dog.
With Cruzo.
Yeah, so Cruzo's doing a good job keeping out of trouble. I think that's Dog who's a lap down. But as I say, the track map is of very little use to me right now because there are cars all over the place. Dr. Zados is in the pits for... Is that a second set of medium tyres? Or did he start on the softs?
Putting on the old set of medium tires because you only have one set of mediums and one set of hards allocated for the race. So he's on a set of mediums that are 7 laps old. I believe he started the race on a set of soft tires.
Interesting. I don't know.
Stand by and I can find out. He's gone medium, hard, medium has Dr. Zados.
So there's your who's up and down various positions. As I alluded to earlier in the broadcast, qualifying in FRS often does not matter. And that is very much proven to be the case today as Cruzo finds a way back past Dog, who is presumably getting a whole bunch of blue flags.
Yeah, they're on the same tire compound and a similar age. Dogs are a few laps younger, but Dog, I think, just has a little bit higher natural pace than what Cruzo has. However, if he doesn't get out of the flag range, he has to give up that position.
It is very much a 3-car fight at this stage. Aston Martin, McLaren, and Arc. I must say, Arc, at the highest level he's raced at in FRS, is doing a very, very solid job in 3rd place. And is just about in the background there, keeping in touch with the 2 Americans at the front. Oregano leads as we come onto lap 11 with Coral in hot pursuit.
Yeah, and it looks like on the timing chart, it looks like Cruzo is starting to reel in Chimichanga. 1.2 seconds now the gap, and I'm sure he might have been within range if he wasn't having to dice it up with the lapped car of Dog. He's really starting to get himself involved and might be trying to find a way to creep his way towards the top 5. Granted, if he gets past Chimichanga, he's got some ground to cover in order to catch up to those 2 Mercedes drivers.
We've got a car off the
Yellow
circuit.
flags out of turn 3 again.
That is Blackbirds in the 2nd Red Bull.
And it's in that spot that you identified earlier, that last quarter of the turn is just where people seem to lose the back end and come out on the outside. They're facing the wrong way. It's a high-speed corner, and I think it's lucky that we've seen so many drivers go off there and not make it all the way to the barriers.
We've got, we're looking at the top 7 now are those who have been shambles-free in the first 11 laps of this race, and I really hate to put the curse on them, as Chimichanga defends from Cruzo here down into turn 10. But anyone from Flashy downwards has been in the wars in this race.
Yeah, multiple stops for Hero, Zados, and Dog, already making pit stops. Well-sized Loud, Bananarama, Brad Spit, Blackbird. Interesting to see Andrew Orthodox down there in the shambles portion of the grid, has yet to make a pit stop. So he's had his spins, but has stayed out of the barriers and hasn't had to deal with any damage. Of course, there was that lap 1 incident with Flashy and Dan Gilligan that caused a lot of drivers to make early stops. Blackbird is in the pits once again.
So I'm wondering, Blackbird's out of the race in the pit lane, has clearly had enough, unfortunately, for them. I'm wondering if Milo is likely to be on the radio to, I don't know, me, saying, I got more pace than Stark. As Cruzo and Chimichanga are fighting, coming through turn 4. This is side-by-side stuff with Dog in the background. Cruzo's on the inside in the McLaren, but Chimichanga is going to stick this one out around the outside. The fight will continue as we come down. Look how close they are. As we come down into turn 7, this is surely going to end in disaster. There it is.
Oh, he's on the...
Well, we just about got away with it. There might be wing damage on that Alpine. But, I mean, lucky for Cruzo that he wasn't facing the wrong direction himself there.
That's exactly what happened to me in my race. Unfortunately, it was on lap 1 where that happened, but I got forced deep onto that curbing, and you just saw how it high-sided the car, and you're just a passenger at that point. Luckily, the way the contact happened for Chimichanga, it straightened his car back out when he got back on the road.
The yellow flag is for Blackbird's Red Bull, who has made its way back onto the circuit before pulling off and disappearing at turn 4. Coral is edging towards that DRS again, isn't he?
He is closing back up on Archduke Oregano, still keeping some good life in the tires. We should start to see the medium tires beginning to drop off in about a lap or 2, as Chimichanga is taking this time to dive into the pit lane, so he may have come off with a bit of wing damage, as you likely rightly guessed.
He's out on a set of hard tires. The Alpine looking fresh, and he's got 30-odd seconds, or the length of the start-finish straight, back to his teammate, well-sized lad. So, as I sort of predicted, I don't want to, declare myself Nostradamus just yet, but the Alpines are both running in the points, despite not having the outright pace of some of those at the front. Keeping out of trouble, Oregano pits. I think that's not a surprise. He was clearly beginning to struggle on those tyres. Coral was moving into DRS range.
Yeah, but we're well within the margin where the hard tires will easily do the 20 or 19 laps to get to the end. We will see, as I was saying, undercut hasn't been particularly powerful around here with the way that the tire warm-up is on the hards. We'll see if Coral responds rather quickly to this one. We'll keep an eye out if they're going to dip into the pit lane as well. We may see even Milo, he's right on the back of Stark now, only about 4/10 the gap. May see him come into the pits early to try and get a multiple lap undercut on his teammate.
So Oregano out into lots of clear space. He's got about 5 seconds before we reach Cruzo, who's having a very good race in P6, has kept out of trouble well. Still formation flying for the two Mercedes drivers. I think they are in communication with each other on the old comms. So this is presumably plan A so far.
Yep, and just I was checking on Coral's pace. He's personal best through the first 2 sectors, so he may be deploying all of his battery for a hard push in lap. He's coming into the chicane now. We'll see. Is he turning in?
He's
nope,
going
he's
long.
Staying out on the track. He's going to go long on this one.
Arc dives into the pits. So from what was P3, it's now P2 on the circuit. Arc into the pits for AlphaTauri.
And Coral setting that fastest lap of the race. That should be good enough to try and create that overcut. It's about a 19-20 second pit loss. Archduke Oregano about 24 seconds behind the McLaren now.
So you can see that gap to Cruzo was 5 seconds. It's now about 3.3. The outlap pace on the hard tyre is not good. And look at Arc at the end of the road is out ahead of Archduke Oregano, but it's F2 style. Will he be able to actually defend the position on the cold tyres?
And turn 3 is a big error generator on cold tires. You can see him going deep already. The warm tires, Archduke Oregano just dives up the inside. It's an easy way to take it. Even though you can come out ahead on track just like that, you do end up losing that position. Now, there's only a 1 lap difference in the tires. Arc is going to have to get on his horse to try and close the gap back up to Archduke Oregano. He should be just about getting those tires up to temperature by the time they hit that back straight and head in towards turn 10.
Well, of course, Coral, we expect, would come out ahead of both of that pair with the overcut. Now, Coral is going to box now. But, of course, how will the tyre warm-up be on the McLaren? Because Coral has to go through that same phase.
Yeah, but it was about a 25-second gap back to Archduke Oregano when Coral dove into the pit lane. So we'll see just how close. Should have a few seconds of a gap as they've got those hard tires on and they're pulling out. We've got the pair of Aston Martin coming through the final chicane just about now, coming out of the final corner. Should be able to, as he releases the pit limiter. Little bit of a swiggle as he's getting up to speed, but he's got a good
look
few
at the
seconds
gap
worth of gap.
Look at the gap. That's astounding. Well, can Coral get those tyres up to temperature quickly? Because we've already seen that Archduke Oregano has pulled about 2.5 seconds on Arc's outlap. So we can expect that gap to come down by a similar rate to Coral. It's currently a Mercedes 1-2 going longest on the medium tyre.
Yeah, we saw Coral put in that fastest lap of the race, the lap before his in-lap, and I would expect he was similar pace on that second in-lap, but has generated a 7-second lead, and I would guess that the hard tires should be just about up into the green operating temperature window now, should be just over that 85 degrees Celsius mark. There's still a little bit of margin to get the ultimate pace once you get up to about 95, but that gap holding steady as it's about 10 seconds back to Archduke Oregano.
Well, Mercedes continuing around. Formation flying for Stark and Millo. Let's stop the count. And everyone back at Brackley, all the boys and girls back at the factory, will be delighted with this result. Long way to go yet. So Coral has actually stabilised that gap. It's been a very, very impressive outlap from Coral, actually. To have maintained that gap at around 2.8 seconds. Very, very strong stuff from the McLaren driver.
Yeah, just kind of bided their time. They were running in P2 for most of the race, about a second and a half off of Archduke Oregano. But when it came time to show up and put in some quick laps and make the overcut happen, they generated a 10-second advantage.
Do we think Mercedes are going for the double medium soft here?
It's possible. Right now, looking at the leader gaps, they've got 28 seconds back to Flashy. Cruzo is only 13 seconds back of Stark at this point. So Cruzo has gotten themselves involved with where the Mercedes are.
I mean, Cruzo at the moment has equivalent pace to Arc, who has stopped. So those medium tyres have still got a bit of pace in them, even though they're 16 laps old. Cruzo not really in play for a podium here, but McLaren going well in what I think is a net P1 and P6.
Yeah, very good drive from Cruzo. And once he's, cleared Chimichanga, was able to build the gap he needed. And he's got, 17 seconds back between Cruzo and Flashy? Or no, 14 seconds. I can do math. I have the leader graphic up on my screen. I could have just looked at yours and it would have given me the answer. As it looks like another Alfa Romeo is around. Just on the edge of the points. Can he get the wheels spinning before the Red Bull of Dr. Zados catches up to him? Looks like he's just about got it moving once again.
So, Mercedes 1, Mercedes 2, still yet to stop. The gap, Coral is catching them. So Coral is catching them at a rate of knots. That's one of the Alpines of well-sized lad, I think, moving out of the way. Flashy is also on that original set of medium tyres, yet to stop, but is a good 14 seconds back from the lead fight. So who's your money on right now? Coral's surely in the box seat, right?
Coral is absolutely in the driver's seat of this one. Archduke Oregano has eaten into that gap a little bit. It's down to 8.9 seconds. So he's starting to chew into it just a little bit. But Coral absolutely sitting in the prime seat. If there's a safety car or something right about now, it would be perfect for Mercedes.
Mercedes are playing for the safety car, aren't they? I'm sure
they are playing for a safety car. At this point, they're either playing for a safety car or looking to extend the mediums for another. If they've extended the mediums this long, they can probably go another 3 laps on them and get the softs to it. Although Archduke Oregano has set the fastest lap of the race now on those hards.
Yeah, he's found about 7/8 tenths of a second to Coral on that lap alone. So, the Aston Martin driver getting into the window now where he's happy with that set of hard boots. He's dropping Arc, who has dropped Cruzo. I think Cruzo may have made a mistake somewhere, actually, because Cruzo is now a good 2.5 seconds back from Arc. This one finally poised, but Coral is reducing the arrears to Mercedes to the tune of around a second a lap.
Yeah, we've definitely hit where the crossover point is between the pace of a set of medium tires and the pace of a set of hard tires. So the mediums are definitely losing their performance. At this point, most drivers on the mediums, I would expect, are going to try and go for the softs at the end. His dog trying to find a way past Brad Spitt, who has made their pit stop and is on those tires that are still warming up. He didn't quite make the move, but he's still going to have some momentum. Dog running fairly long on those medium tires as well, though he made that early pit stop from damage.
Mercedes continue a pace, formation flying. I mean, this is great for the marketing department, this one, isn't it? Just running 1 and 2. Formation flying. Love to see it. But Archduke Oregano with another fastest lap of the race. That gap to Coral now 1.6.
Coming down quite rapidly. And of course, you have Mercedes, the factory team, 1 and 2. You've got Mercedes power units 3 and 4. So it's all a good news all around for that Mercedes engine. Arc on that not Honda, whatever we're calling it these days, is the next one. And then you have another Mercedes power unit in Cruzo.
Dog has now cleared Brad Spitt despite being on the older tyres. That very much highlighting the pain in getting these new tyres of any compound up to temperature. Now, if there was to be a safety car for whatever reason, surely all of those hard tyre runners would have to box for a set of softs as well.
It would be the smart play, I would say. Now, of course, you are dipping into those soft tires. Actually, I was about to make an incorrect statement because of that red flag. All soft tires that teams have in their pit boxes are all brand new and fresh. I was about to say they may be coming out on used soft tires because of their qualifying laps on them, but that red flag has completely nullified that. So any soft tires that go on are going to have an extra lap or so of life because they did not do a qualifying session.
Mercedes have no interest in your pit lane. We're going to keep going on these medium tyres. Lap 21. Now, we saw in the reserve division race on Friday, Stark, those tyres got to about 80% wear, and he actually picked up a rear left puncture around lap 22. So we are getting into the window of things starting to go a bit pear-shaped for Mercedes. They are gambling here in the hope... I mean, they've got the gap to Flashy, who's running the same strategy, and to Cruzo as well, really. But they are playing for the podium here, or they're trying to.
Yeah, let's see. So, trying to do some quick maths to the leaders. Arc is the furthest back. He's sitting in a net P3 at the moment, about 10 seconds back of Stark. So you would estimate that Stark and Milo would have to make up about 9 seconds or so after they make their pit stop on the soft tires. So they're going to have to do it to about the tune of roughly 2 seconds a lap in the early stages.
Milo's going to box now.
Will fall out.
So Milo's had enough.
Going to go 1 lap longer.
So it's that dreaded lap 22 for Stark, who continues to lead. Coral with the fastest lap of the race now. The McLaren is coming.
Yeah, Stark did mention in the meantime between the PC reserve race and this race that he was hit into a spin on the first lap in that reserve race that did some extra little bit of damage to his tires. Would that be maybe just the margin he needs to keep them alive for this 1 extra lap now?
Milo is out on the soft tires, needs to make them go 11 laps. That is an ask. That is a big ask.
Now, the one benefit that the Mercedes does have, though, putting 2 drivers onto the soft tires at the end of the race, as Flashy now in with their soft tires, is that they're going to be in a very good position to go for that fastest lap point to really pelt around as they have that extra grip. I mean, getting down into the 19s, if you've got the battery available into it, as I believe the fastest lap of the race right now is a 20.8.
Yeah, Coral picked that up on the last time. The gap to Archduke Oregano is around 1.6 seconds, coming down a little bit because Coral's in that dirty air of Stark's Mercedes. Stark is surely going to box this lap. There is nothing left on those mediums. It has been a valiant effort and no puncture today.
Nope, he's in safely. Just needs to get the car slowed down before the line. No speeding in the pit lane penalty as Archduke Oregano setting another fastest lap. You can see not 9 laps into the stint, and Archduke is still able to set fastest laps on those hard compound tires. Like usually you would expect the first 5 laps is the ideal position to get your best lap times. Nope. Archduke still turning fast laps time after time. Cruzo is in as well to get off of those medium compound tires.
Now Millo is going to get the jump on Stark here. Millo gets the undercut, and it's a change in the order at Mercedes. Millo, now the lead driver.
Yeah, the overcut was powerful on the mediums, although the quicker warm-up time of the softs may have given them just the advantage on the out lap to make the undercut work, which is honestly going forward for the rest of the season a fascinating thing we may see play out track to track, it being tire dependent on whether the undercut or the overcut is the better strategy. Could really create some good guessing games.
So this is the fight for the win. Ark is now too far back. He's about 6 seconds back from this fight. And Ark will basically just be trying to set lap times to protect himself from the Mercedes pair, who will be trying to shark into his rear view mirror. This is the fight for the win. 1.5 seconds. Coral fastest lap of the race this time around.
Yep, and those front two are pushing each other back and forth. Coral going to have to keep responding to keep Oregano out. It looks like there's a spinner in the final sector as Millo just has to work their way around Andrew Orthodox, getting out of the way. And now tons of cars streaming through. Millo setting fastest lap race. Only by a couple of tenths of a second, though. He's going to need to go much, much faster in order to really make that strategy work.
Well, he may have lost a little bit of time there avoiding the Haas of Andrew Orthodox. Haas now in P13 and P14, which would be disappointing for them. It's a much better day at the MTC in Woking. McLaren leading this race, and Cruzo, who went to the hard tyres, not the softs, in P6. I wonder if that was a Jeff moment for Cruzo, but the fastest lap of the race now flashy into the 119s.
Yeah, it may have been a Jeff moment, although it's the safer tire to the end. It is a little bit marginal to go those 11 laps to the very end of the race.
Yellow flag in sector 3
There's another
is
spinner
Zados.
out of the final corner.
Oh, and Ark gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That is going to be music to the ears of the Mercedes drivers, who, to be fair, are not making a huge impression on the timing screen. It's still about 11 seconds.
And Stark is stabilized at about 1.7, 1.8 behind his teammates. So they seem to be doing similar lap times between the two of them. And they may just be bringing it home P4, P5.
They've tried it. They played for the safety car. It has not quite worked for Mercedes, but it was a valiant effort on the medium tyres nonetheless, trying something different on the strategy to see if they could pick up a few extra points. But right now, it looks like it's going to be Coral and Archduke Oregano, the top two. Ark might be hanging on by the end of this one, but we shall have to see as Zados in the Red Bull pulls over to one side and lets the race leader through.
Yeah, and Coral's stretched that lead now to just over 2 seconds, so he's starting to extend the gap a little bit. He does have a couple laps younger of those hard compound tires than Archduke Oregano. And yeah, we're still looking on the timing screens, and Millo just not quite making the impression. He's actually 0.2 down on his previous best lap through the second sector. Dr. Zados is into the pit lane.
Yes, I was just about to say, Zados 22 laps there on a set of medium tyres. Bananarama on the older set of tyres, 23 laps on this particular set of hards. Running in the points is the German driver.
He's got about 7 laps left to do in this race. It's gonna be close. We did see Stolen Valor in the PC4 race take his hards about 30 laps down to the end of the race and managed to come out with a win there. Bananarama in position, though. He could pit and come out just right around Well-Sized Lad. He has a safe pit stop to go for and not lose any track position.
It's been a tough day for Williams. We've got Hero a full 30 seconds back from the back of the pack, possibly a lap and a half, maybe even 2 laps down by the end of this one. Very tough day for Williams, who hopefully will be back stronger next week at Spa. That gap between Millo and Stark is steady, but that gap from Millo to Ark is barely budging either.
Interesting to see that, Mercedes not really getting too much out of the soft tires. That is Dog off the track and completely missing a front wing this time. Yeah. So he's had yet another off and has managed to keep the car going. At least he needs to try and stay out of the way as more cars come streaming through. But a tough day for Dog. He's shown flashes of pace, made some good overtakes, but mistakes have cost him.
Qualifying was great. The race was not so great. But there's always next week. Here's the fight at the front. That gap back now to 1.6. They're kind of trading. I've got a bit of pace left in hand. Okay, now I'm going to steady on. Okay, now I've got a bit of pace left in hand. But Archduke Oregano is just not able to get closer to that 1 second window.
And Arc is kind of holding right around that 6.5 seconds off of Archduke Oregano. He, though, is running very low on his battery, so he is burning plenty of energy to try and stay with this pack. Milo now 11 seconds back of Arc, so losing ground, and Stark is now close to just about 1 second. So we may see some Mercedes team orders swap them back around.
I think we're about to... I think Mercedes are very much just bringing this home for the P4 and P5 at this point. I think they've realised that it was probably quite far to go on the soft tyre. I think they were playing for the safety car to make the strategy work. It hasn't appeared. And as such, we're just going to try and pull this one home for a P4 and P5, which is a good haul of points, or would be a good haul of points. There's a fight ongoing, by the way, between Chimichanga, who is on 14-lap-old hard tyres in the Alpine, and Flashy, who is flying on the soft tyre.
Yeah, 5 laps on those soft tires. Although Chimichanga can hold out for another 2 laps or so, Flashy's going to start to really lose some of that extra pace on those soft tires. So if he can just hang on for a little bit longer in front, he may get to the cliff phase, although looks like he's gone a bit deep into the start of the chicane area, and Flashy is all over the back. Plenty of traction on the exit, although Chimichanga getting off of that final corner quite well himself.
Flashy set an absolute banger of a fastest lap on a 1:19.8. Mercedes are nowhere near that. Flashy going to the inside, thinking about it the second time, and through into 7th place.
Dog is out of the session through turn 4. He's retired.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that now. Cruzo's about to come through. It's just a yellow flag, local only. Dog in the wars again. And out of this one. Don't think that's going to produce a late safety car or VSC.
Yeah, it looks like he's far enough off the track, and it looks like there's some of the orange bit of wall you see where the marshal posts are to roll that car off the track and not have to go recover it. So it looks like it's just going to be a local yellow until that one, and it is cleared from the track. So, yep, no safety car or VSC. We continue on, 4 laps to go.
In DRS range is Archduke Oregano, 0.8 of a second. Has Coral made a mistake on that previous lap? The race is on for the win here in Spain.
It's very tight there, and Stark has closed up to DRS range of Milo as well. He had a little bit of a look into turn 1, but we may be seeing those Mercedes swap positions around. And Cruzo picking up a 3-second time penalty, and Flashy sitting 3.4 seconds back.
Yeah, Cruzo's at risk now for P6 in that McLaren because Flashy is on a good run of form on those soft tyres. But will they last? Or is the hard tyre the better one to be on? It's all happening at Mercedes as well. Stark is right in the window. But we really do need to watch the fight at the front between the 2 American drivers, Coral and Oregano.
He's going to be within that DRS if he can get a very good run through the braking zone of the chicane. It's about 0.7 of a second. I think you need to be about 0.4 or so in order to really make the move stick down into turn 1. We'll see how much time he's gained. As obviously, the more fine detail you have being able to set your wing angles in this current game has really created some different setup variations as well between drivers. Stark is diving into the pit lane. Stark, did he run into the back of Milo at some point? He's got 22 seconds plus 3 to Cruzo.
I wonder if he wants another set of softs. I think it's the fastest lap point he's going for. He's got 22 seconds, yeah. Run. So Cruzo's just coming out of the chicane. Obviously, Mercedes are at the start of that pit lane, so they've got a long way to go. You see the McLaren in the background now I think Cruzo will get track position here. Here comes Stark out onto the circuit. Cruzo's just coming over the hill now. No, it looks like Stark has got this covered as long as there is tyre warm-up for that Mercedes, and he's going to go for the fastest lap point. I think that's a good call from Stark.
It was interesting, though. He was closing up on the back of Milo, seemed to have a little more pace to swap the position outright. It may have been safer to send Milo in to go for that fastest lap point instead, but it ends up being the same haul of points for Mercedes regardless. But
oh, there's a slide.
He's on warm tires.
Huge slide for Oregano there in the final corner. He's lost DRS now. He got it on this lap, but he's now 1.3 back.
He was very lucky. It was just a bit of a drift there and not an outright spin. Maybe getting a little bit of wear on those tires. You wouldn't expect the hard tires to be dying off yet, just maybe a little bit too much right foot. And looking on the timing sheets as well, Cruzo has fallen just right about that 1 second mark to Stark. So Stark getting those soft tires fired up and ready to go.
Importantly, Cruzo is maintaining the gap to Flashy at this phase as well. And Flashy's tires, you think, are only going to get worse from here. So he looks like at this point he's going to be able to hang on to that P6. But Stark is he's charged up the battery and away he goes for that fastest lap attempt.
Yeah, Flashy 1.3 seconds off of his personal best now on those soft tires. So the time is just going away in buckets on those worn soft tires.
We've got 2.5 laps to go. About 2 laps to go for the leaders. They're just coming through Sector 3. And Archduke Oregano has more pace. He's back into DRS.
Yeah, he's managed to make up for that mistake in just 1 lap worth of time. He's back in that DRS. Was able to run through that second sector well. I haven't seen him close up too much on DRS. It might be that Coral's running a little bit more wing and is getting... Coral running less wing, so Oregano can close up in the more twisty bits of the track, but isn't quite having the move on the straights. But that being said, he cut down a good 0.4 of a second almost into that braking zone for turn 1.
He's only going to have one go at this, really, unless he can produce something special into turn 10 on this lap. He has to be within about half a second coming out of that chicane, and it is so difficult to do it in that dirty air.
If Stark's coming out of the final corner on his push lap, we'll see, is it going to be quick enough? Yes, it is for that fastest lap point. 19.4 puts him a good 0.4 clear of what Flashy had done. And as on the youngest set of soft tires, really the only set of soft tires on the track that are not in the dying range, he should be relatively safe for that bonus point for Mercedes.
We've got 1 lap to go when this one's done. There's a yellow flag around this corner. That is a spinning Williams. And that's going to cost Archduke Oregano. He went to the right. And that is surely going to mean he's not close enough coming out of the chicane. He'll get DRS, but that might have just won Coral this race.
Yeah, unfortunately, with that one car just being in the way there, he manages to stay in the DRS to get the activation, but instead of being 0.5 back into this out of the final corner, he's nearly a second, and he's just not going to have quite enough to close it up.
Coral was a little bit deep into turn 1 there by the looks of things, and the gap now 0.7 of a second. Mercedes still 4th and 5th, and in fact, Arc has extended the gap to Milo. So Arc under no risk for that final podium slot, but we're going to watch this fight for the win. Coral is on the verge of picking up the win here at the Circuit de Catalunya in Spain. There's one more DRS zone, but there's still a few more sketchy corners you've got to avoid the curbs on before we can say that this one's done for McLaren.
Yeah, and interestingly, Bananarama came into the pit lane to put on a set of soft tires on the last lap of the race, and now he's scrapping with well-sized Lad. So he's given up a position to.
I think he was 9th. I think he's recovered that P9. Yeah, he drove straight around the outside of well-sized Lad. So Archduke Oregano, if he was this close last time around, he might have had a chance. But we are just going to run out of laps. Out of the final corner, Coral wins the opening race in PC Division 2. But a fantastic fight over the whole of that one with Archduke Oregano, who comes home in 2nd place. And it is a very solid and impressive 3rd for Arc in the AlphaTauri. He will absolutely take that result. Mercedes are going to come home in 4th and 5th position with their fastest lap point. So good drive, good strategic drive from Mercedes. Didn't quite work out for them, did it? On the strategy call. We've got to stop. Is that Flashy? Oh, Flashy's in the barrier. Flashy's in the barrier.
Out, or is he beached? It doesn't say he's retired yet, so the car isn't completely damaged.
He can't move the car. It's beached.
He's beached. Now, does he remember the event notes did say if you beach the car, reset to track is allowed. He needs.
He's
to hit
disqualified from the session. No.
We've seen it so many times this weekend. I've only seen a couple of drivers actually reset to track as they've been allowed with the car being beached. It was in the event notes. It's in the rule set, but apparently people just have forgotten that you can reset to track in that situation. Oh, that's so unfortunate. That's cost him a points paying position. He was 40 seconds out ahead of where Chimichanga was. It would be easy to reset track, just limp the car with no wings back there. And that is unfortunate.
Look, it's the most boring thing in the world. Read the rules. Read them. Read them and understand them.
We cut them down by about 12 pages this season.
Well, you know, as if anyone reads the rules. If you'd read the rules, you would have scored some points there. But up at the front, it's Coral who's the winner today for McLaren. Looking for all the world like Pato O'Ward, actually. Standing on the podium there. But great result for the American. And he takes command of PC Division 2 after just one race. But I think it's fair to say we might have something of a title battle on our hands.
Yeah, it was a fantastic drive from Boach. Archduke Oregano seemed to have the ultimate overall pace as he was able to close up the gap. But seems like Coral was the one who did their homework, saw how the overcut was the stronger strategy going from the mediums to the hards, and put it into play, built a strong enough gap to stay ahead of Archduke by the end.
Coral's the winner today for McLaren by just half a second in the end from Archduke Oregano in the Aston Martin. But those two very much in a class of their own at the front. Arc was a very solid third ahead of his British compatriots Millo and Stark for Mercedes. Mercedes will take that from the opening race. Great drive from Crusoe up to P6. Kept out of trouble when, we've said it in the past, trouble can so often find him. And there was plenty of trouble in that race. Chimichanga is, I guess, technically 7th. Flashy might get the P8, but it'll be for the stewards to decide. Bananarama is 9th or maybe 8th. And well-sized lad will definitely get some points for Alpine. Decent result for Alpine when all was said and done there. Wow.
So now I'm curious how today's race jived with your predictions that you made in PC Division 2, the total vibes predictions.
Yeah, the vibes prediction.
I can find it.
Mercedes would have solid pace, but are prone to a safety car inducing accident. I would say that's not so bad so far, solid pace. I did say McLaren would be 9 out of 10 qualifying, 3 out of 10 race, which very much proved to be the opposite, actually. Although Coral did actually grab the pole position as well, so just 9 out of 10 from Coral all around. Maybe even 10 out of 10, depending on how you want to call that one. I said Alpine would be the sort of team that might try and pick up a few points. I said Alfa Romeo would be, I hope you like P8 finishes, and if the DQ sticks, that will be a P8 finish for Bananarama. I think Ferrari was the poor call, based on what we've seen today.
Yeah, and just aside from the vibes check for Mercedes, we were saying towards the beginning, they just need to stay out of incidents with each other. And today they did a really good job of not tripping over themselves. We've seen in the past so many times a Mercedes on Mercedes crime. We saw it in PC Division 4 when on the opening lap, Peter Ward tried to dive up the inside of his teammate Renovatio and ended up spun around to Mercedes drivers. And it's nice to see not to see them tripping over each other and come home with a very solid points finish.
That was a good one. It took us a while to get there. There was lots of problems. I think that's just par for the course at the moment. But we did get there, and that's the important thing. Right. Hope you all enjoyed that. I think it's about time to wrap it up for this opening FRS weekend here on FRS Motorsports. And of course the FRS community channel as well. In terms of going back and watching the VODs, any particular highlight races from your perspective?
Well, I will say get ready to skip ahead because we saw a lot of red flags with this opening weekend. So there is a fair bit of waffling sessions. We are going to start getting a YouTube channel set up where I'll kind of cut up the VODs a little bit to clean them up. And we'll make sure not to completely cut out the waffling session because sometimes people like the impromptu podcast, but I'll make notes of where to skip to get back to the action. I mean, if you're a fan of Shambles, PlayStation's race was shambolic to say the least. Xbox had a decent race. I didn't get to see a lot of it because I was off in my own little world at the back, and I didn't get a chance to see too many of the other races, but we'll make sure to get all those uploaded and set, and we will see what they have. We have Spa-Francorchamps coming up next, so it should be another really good race. We'll see if anybody dares for the 2019 Ferrari strat of 0-0 wings.
I mean, best of luck if you do, based on how Turn 3 Spain went today. I think that would be a bold strategy, Cotton, as they say. I won't be about next week. I am away on my holidays. So I will miss the Spa event, which is, in one sense, a shame, because Spa plus me tends to be entertaining. But yeah, I think I'd rather be sat on a sunbed eating seafood, which hopefully, all going well, I will be doing in a week's time. So I hope you all enjoy the Spa events next week. I'm only away for a week, so I'll be back in time for round 3, which is...
It was just on the screen.
It was just on the screen. Is it?
Just looked away.
Imagine
I
reading.
It's Miami.
It's not
I
Miami.
believe.
Miami's later in the season. Is it Silverstone? Maybe it's Silverstone.
I need to find. I put it somewhere.
Who knows? Anyway, whenever that arrives, I'll be back for that. Thank you very much to Quimbulus, aka Sean Provenza. Been a pleasure to have you here this evening.
Thank you for having me. And I just looked. I was close. It's Circuit of the Americas, so the other USA track that we have on calendar.
That will be a track limit penalty bonanza in sector
Get ready
1.
to do lots of mental math for where people are going to be finishing on that one.
Yeah, controller players rip, as far as I'm concerned in that one. Right, guys, we're going to wrap the stream up there. Hope you enjoyed it this weekend. And yeah, FRS will see you in a week's time in Spa-Francorchamps. Have a good one.